On a clipboard, there's a little paper that you had to mark, like, how angry are you today? How would you say your mood is today? And then I was called into a room. They had a really good smelling candle going on. The lights were like dim. It was kind of romantic in a way. I'm trying to give you like an accurate from here.
Yeah.
So like here. Those were like the room sizes. It was like really dark. They have like a heart rate monitor. They had like a reclining chair with like a wireless phone charger with like a cup holder, a TV right in front of you. And there's like a shit ton of like 4K nature documentaries with soothing music and like angelic voices. I first recognized this like orange and red help button. And I was like, oh fuck. I spoke with a lady that I remember speaking to on the phone. She was saying, we're gonna start you off small, like the normal dose we do for first timers. You may not feel much of anything, or you may feel a little bit more. The injection's gonna hurt a little bit because it's like technically an acid going into you. So I'd get jabbed, but it started like stinging and feeling really hot. And like, I was like, what the fuck? Am I like allergic to this shit? I completely forgot that she said it was like acidic. So that's why it burns when it goes in. And that like really sucked. It felt so weird. And then they were like, okay, we're gonna come back in 15 minutes to give you your second dose, because they like half and halved it. I think just because it like allows people to come up on it easier than if it was all at once. So I got jabbed. First thing I watched was like an African safari thing, right? I had like this star globe thing, laser projection on. I kind of started feeling like, have you like been under a painkiller? Kind of feeling like that. My head started getting like really laggy. Honestly, the best way to explain it, as well as my vision. Soon enough, I just kind of noticed that like the colors are really bright. Things kind of seem like they like morphed into each other. And the biggest one was, if I breathed, the room breathed. The recliner I was sitting on didn't exist. It would go up and down with me. That was like the body sensation. That really freaked me out at first. I think the first 15 minutes are pretty fucking intense, and maybe at least for me. I remember seeing this fucking elephant looking at me on the TV, and I was like, this looks kind of like it's like looking at me, like, no, dead ass. That's looking at me, right? But obviously I had no one to talk to, but like, that's what's going on in my head. And then it went to like gazelle, who all turned their heads at the same time, you know, because they heard something. And I was like, what? Like, what the fuck is going on? That's where it got kind of creepy. I felt like I started hearing a voice. I wasn't sure if it was like the nurses outside or like from the music. The more I like tuned into it, it sounded more like a kind of like Bowser's like laughing voice, like, but more realistic. It was kind of really scary. Truly felt like it was laughing and like mocking me. Those laser balls that like do laser shows on your ceiling, they had one of those. A lot of like this blue stuff was like hitting below the TV. I legitimately like thought that was my enemy, and like it was mocking me and laughing at me. It would kind of like go up and down when it was laughing. Eventually, I wasn't so bothered by the voice anymore. I remember like still hearing it, but like it was kind of just in passing. I just watched more of the documentary and I was just laughing a lot, because a lot of these animals look like they like dead ass had a problem with me. I think it was I was watching alligators go into a pond, and I was like, what the fuck am I like interpreting right now? Jesus Christ. The music would kind of like match your emotion. So there were so many parts that like mixed together with it, like the music, the visuals, and like the feelings, and it was really weird. It kind of all played itself out like a story. And that's, in a way, exactly what a lot of these ketamine trips became. They became like stories or like an action movie if I'm like fighting, my inner demons. The come down was a little weird. I could really breathe. My chest was like empty. I felt more tired than like aware. I felt such a sense of like clarity after a ketamine session. I was really tired, but I felt like a feather. I loved that feeling. It's almost like, do normal people feel like this? Like, Jesus Christ, no wonder they're normal, because they feel good all the time. So I ended up going home and taking a long ass nap. And then I woke up and I still felt like the same that I felt before. Just really calm and clarity. And then that's what kind of like really made me want to go back for like the next session. Because I felt good being like off the ketamine and having the after effects, it was kind of hard for anything to actually like bother me at the moment.
Have you done other kinds of therapy or medication?
SSRIs and anxiety medication and even like sleeping medication. It might be like 30 different combinations. I didn't go to any therapy, probably when I most should have in my teens. I went for like a summer in 2018. That one was not helping at all. I think I quit after like 3 months.
How did you learn about ketamine therapy?
I honestly think I was like Googling shit about depression and like maybe medicines I should be taking. I somehow stumbled upon ketamine therapy. It was a rabbit hole from there. And it was like, oh shit, they have one in Texas. I could actually do this. And then I did. I just emailed them and I got an email back and they were like, hey, give us a call at, their phone number. And I did. And I talked to someone for like an hour. It ended up being like kind of an interview in a way, or like they're diagnosing me. I had to end up going through 4 interviews. You have to name every single antidepressant and medication you were ever on. They were pretty kind of like guarded about who can start it. I just kept thinking back on a bad trip I had and when I like literally swore off doing a psychedelic ever again because of that. My thoughts kept going to that experience and being like, what if this happens again? Like, that was honestly traumatizing. Am I just putting myself to be traumatized again? That's also the reason why I sought to do it professionally in like a clinic, because I would not touch that shit on my own. I just want to be happy. I would like to not be depressed. I'd like to not live every day with anxiety or like negative thoughts, but like that was my life for like probably over 10 years. My second day was starting off kind of like my first day. I had to do the same things. They asked me how I was feeling, if I felt any different. Do you think it was too much? Do you think it was too little? Just a bunch of like medical questions or things that would like benefit your experience. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Any questions? Nope, let's go. They upped the dose a little bit. The first 15 minutes, I put on a Galaxy video, but I felt like I kept hearing screams, and it would kind of make me pay more attention to that than everything else in front of me. To kind of like ground myself, I was staring at the bottom of the door where some light shined through, to remind myself that like, all right, I'm not in this cube, there's stuff out there. But I was still just hearing screams. I felt like I heard a lot of talking. I was unsure what was going on. And part of me was thinking like, are these in my head? Like, am I hearing screams in my head? That's kind of wild. Like, what? It was weird. Something was going on, and you just know it. But when they came in to give me my second dose, they, pretended nothing was happening. They were like, how do you feel? You feel okay? I'm like, yeah, okay. They, jabbed me, felt a little ow ow. That's when it really picked up. This guy next door was having a really bad trip. No! Stop! These were the screams that I was hearing while my TV is like shaking because like he's banging the wall. My TV's on that wall, and I'm like, oh my god. I think they forgot for a little bit that I was in the room. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I stopped feeling so scared, and I started feeling way more like I was resonating with him, and I was just drawn to it. It was, you know, you can't distract yourself from that. They sent the receptionist to come talk to me. You know, she came in basically like, hey, how are you feeling? Are you okay? I think my first question was like, do you hear that screaming? I was like, it's not in my head, right? And she was like, no, it's not in your head. And I was like, oh, thank God. I truly thought it was. So when you talk, it doesn't really feel like you're physically talking. It's like you're like telepathically talking. Because you're like, you can't see mouth moves. You're kind of just tripping if you like continue like moving your head. I know I was like slurring my words and mumbling, and just the entire time she was so sweet. We just continued to talk through it. She had to go again. There is one thing about these ketamine treatments. It is reversible, just via another injection to counter the ketamine, and then you don't have to go through the whole thing. You'll just have to wait that minute or two until it like really kicks in. They were trying to do that with him, and it was like taking all the staff, trying to get him to calm down, trying to like get him this injection. It started dying down. I think the manager of the place came in. I never saw her before. And the PhD ass therapist that I only saw briefly before. And they were both apologizing profusely, like non-stop. I was like, does this happen a lot? They're like, no. They offered me a different contact number so I could reach their therapist without having to go through like if they're closed. It was more like a direct number. They refunded me for that one. I don't know. They were making calls, being like, hey, we're just checking up on you. How you feeling? At first, I felt fine. I had my post-ketamine nap. I woke up and I was feeling like anxiety. And I normally wouldn't if I'm going off of the first session I had. And then as the day went on, it just really snowballed into really bad mindsets. I was questioning if I should continue doing this. I like legitimately kept hearing the guy's screams in the back of my head. And then I called them the next day and I was like, this is going on. I'm kind of freaking out. I'm not as okay as I thought. And they were like, okay, we can get you a session tomorrow. Would you feel comfortable with doing that? You can always back out at any time. We can give you a lower dose. I was scared, but I was also like, I can't pussy out of this. I just can't. This is like one of my last options to want to live. I went in, they're like apologizing. I'm like, it's okay. They said we can stop at any time. They emphasized the like call for help button. I was like, just please be on the lookout for me. If I look like I'm starting to freak out a little bit, coming immediately, you know. I think this time I turned on a coral reef video. Fish are pretty sick. I ended up crying for, I don't know why. There was just this feeling that felt so negative. Everything, like I said, feels like it plays out like a story. This is gonna sound so ridiculous to everyone, but I'm probably not the only one. I kind of felt like I could move my arms and shit and sort things out. It was like putting in a DVD and then trying to realize like how that makes me feel, and then like moving it to where it belongs, and like it just went over and over and over again. You don't really have like time perception when you're under ketamine. So I don't know how long that was, but I was just crying so much. The nurses told me that they were going to come in there, but the behavioral therapist stopped them and said, like, just give her 1 second to see if she can, like, work through it. That's when it went to a turtle and he was like swimming away up into like the sky. Well, you know, just the top of the water, but sky sounds cooler, and like the music was like all angelic, and then everything felt like it turned around, and the rest of it I just felt like joy. That was like the first word that came to my mind, and I think it's the best word that describes how I was feeling. And most importantly, I had no feelings regarding what happened 2 days beforehand with the guy. I was just over it. It was really weird. Some things happened. I felt like my friends were like abandoning me. My fucking front tooth broke off. A lot of things seemed like they were like stacking up on me. I was once again in a really, really, really bad headspace. I ended up self-harming again. I don't know, like I just felt bad again. My thought process was, all right, I want to kill myself. I want to be at peace, but I can't do that, especially to my dad. What's the next best thing where I can be alone, not talk to anyone? A cabin in the woods in the mountains of Colorado. I'm a week back from that trip. It was so good. It was such a good idea. I just felt like kind of warm and in a way excited and looking forward to stuff. I was booking shit I was always scared to do. My friend came up and I had stuff planned with her. We had ATVing at 1. My thought process the entire time felt so good. My friend was just telling me I just seemed different, because my whole mindset was like, I'm doing these things I was scared of to always do. Yes, I'm a little nervous, but it kind of sounds fun at the moment. So we got to the ATV area and had to sign all our waivers, got our helmets, our safety check. I was doing really well. I was like second in line. The only person that was ahead was the instructor. I was keeping up, but like I wasn't wiping out until we got to this very, very narrow pathway. I made it like 3/4 of the way through before I kind of lost control of the handlebar for a split second. It went to the right and I got like launched off. I was wearing a helmet, which may be the only thing that saved my fucking life. The helmet was cracked a little bit. The ATV was fine though. Everyone was like freaking out and they're like, "You alright? Are you alright? Does anything feel broken?" I'm like, "No, I feel fine." Apparently I'm bleeding a shit ton. I didn't even notice. You had a family in the back, like their kids were kind of freaking out. And their dad was like, "Here, let me wash this off with water. Are you sure you're okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was just looking at my elbows, seeing blood, my back right here. Well, yeah, I guess it kind of shows on Zhongli. Right here, I got like a really insane like road rash, I think they call it, but I felt fine. I wasn't like bummed about it. I was like, I don't regret doing that at all. I was like, oh, this is no problem. It's whatever. I'll get cleaned up when we go in. The shower I took as soon as I got there, that shit hurt so fucking much. I wasn't really thinking about the ketamine, but I was instinctively going with a more positive thought process than a negative one. I saw how much easier it was to attempt to have like a different perspective on, you know, anything. I think it helped me more than I realized. Because without the ketamine, self-improvement wasn't a thing. I didn't care at that point. The 3 or 4 weeks that I was taking these ketamine sessions, I was always trying to think of a word of how I've been feeling. And I finally realized it, and for me it was like ambitious. I had no ambition. Yeah, I really don't think I would have had such a positive experience if it wasn't for the ketamine. So I had a really good session Friday. It was, you know, after the week of the cabin, after the ATV incident, after some roommate drama, they went up a dose. But at one point, I felt like everything was kind of like black holing, but not in the like swirly way, but like collapsing in on itself. And like my vision was getting dark. I felt like it was getting harder to breathe. A ton of weight was on top of me. I genuinely started feeling scared. I was really, really tripping before I got my second dose. So they came in and I could barely communicate. I was like crying and laughing, and he was like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I got the second injection. Instead of it usually like teetering off for me from there, it continued, maybe even pushed it a bit further. And I really just felt like I was like overcoming obstacles or like negative thoughts or challenges. And again, after that, I like felt that clarity. It was scary, without a doubt, being that far under. It also benefited me in the end. Like, I really think it did. It made everything more manageable, and it even gave me feel-good moments, especially with my animals. And just realizing how much they love me. And it made me so emotional. I'm like, these little simps. I'm doing things that I need to do that I couldn't do before. I got a bunch of painting supplies and I started painting yesterday. I've been going to the dog park a lot, so he's really happy and he does stupid stuff that makes me laugh. I feel like there's more hope when I felt so hopeless before, especially after like over 24 medication combinations and therapies. I really do think it helped. Without a doubt, I am going to continue doing it as much as I feel like I need it. Unfortunately, I think for me, I might be one of those people that need it more consistently than people who feel they can get off of it. But I don't think there's much of a problem with it. And if you're not abusing it, it's also a lot harder to get like the, negative side effects. I think it may have really saved my life.
If you could tell everybody in the world one thing, what would it be?
Like in general?
Yeah, just like anything. Could just be a noise.
Just have more compassion for other people, but don't forget to stand up for yourself, and that can be hard. Just compassion. I think it could literally solve every problem in the world.